The thing is that people don't realise in this world, this is why a lot of people get angry about things and get annoyed. This man, the George Floyd guy died. He was a security guard. This is what it was one day ago. People protesting of his death and they're very angry about it because I've lost a good person. This is the video I'm going to be playing. It's 3 minutes long.
Chaos and destruction in Minneapolis tonight as police officers and protesters clash over a man's death. Thanks for watching WCCO, also streaming on CBSN Minnesota.
The outrage began with a video showing police arresting 46-year-old George Floyd in South Minneapolis last night.
Why? I can breathe. Please, the name of it.
See, look, he's begging for his life, and the police don't even give two shits about him. That's horrible. If they were in that position what he was in, they'd soon be asking for air.
Floyd died a short time later. Today, hundreds flooded the streets at that same intersection to protest Floyd's death. They then marched to the police station where the officers who arrested Floyd worked. Our team coverage begins tonight with Jeff Wagner. He joins us now from outside the Minneapolis Police 3rd Precinct, where a crowd is still gathered. Jeff?
Yeah, this crowd, I want to say comparative to about an hour ago, it's calmed down a bit, but then next thing you know, you start to hear the sound of tear gas being fired, flashbangs being fired. We've had what believes to be rubber bullets of sorts fly not far from us, hearing people get hit. There's still hundreds of people here who are actually standing right by the 3rd Precinct, right next to the officers. It's been a pretty chaotic scene starting about 6 p.m. tonight. A far cry from what it was earlier. Now, this all started at the intersection of 38th and Chicago. Thousands packed the area for the protest at 5 o'clock, but we're also spread out to remain socially distant. Organizers emphasized keeping this protest peaceful. People took turns sharing their frustrations and grief with the crowd. Chants of "I can't breathe" and "it could have been me" filled the air. A man who claims to have been one of the witnesses of Floyd's arrest also addressed the crowd. Protesters were glad to know that the 4 officers involved were fired, but they say the true justice won't be served.
I don't think fired is good enough. There should be more happening.
When you look at situations, you say to yourself, could this have been prevented? And that goes without saying in regards to this situation. That young man was no longer a threat once you subdued him, handcuffed him, and you had your knee on his neck. You could have very easily got up, put him in the car like you was asked to on several occasions.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, we're all human beings, and we're all in this community together. It's just tough to see someone have their life ended the way it did.
Now, around 6 p.m., the protest turned into a march towards the 3rd Precinct, where it is believed that the officers worked. A much smaller group than the initial protest started vandalizing the building, shattering a window, spray painting squad cars and the side of the building. Officers then showed up in riot gear and started firing tear gas and flashbangs, which you can hear going off right now, as many protesters were hurling rocks, water bottles, anything they could get their hands on towards the officers. The unruly crowd measured in hundreds, a far cry from the peaceful group that started the protest.
It's real ugly. The police have to understand that, this the climate they have created.
It appears we have a long night ahead of us. Again, every few seconds when it gets quiet, you suddenly hear the sounds of flashbangs and tear gas being fired in the crowd. You're looking at it right now. You're watching the crowd disperse. It appears someone might have been shot with one of those rubber paint bullets. People are very upset tonight. I spoke on the phone a few minutes ago with Trey Pollard. He's one of the sound bites you heard earlier. He's one of the organizers of the initial protest. He said this is not what was supposed to happen. He said this is an anger and spillover of what people are feeling, but this is not the right platform to express that. He said this is not the way it was supposed to end this evening. An evening that's far from finished again.
All right, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, they are right in that. If they wouldn't have just done what they've done, nobody would have been protesting, and things would have been differently, or been done differently. But they chose them paths. They shot the guy, and this is what happens. Don't do to others what you don't do to yourself. What I say. Anyway, thank you, Jeremy. Peace.